We're going to be talking a lot of fishbowl, familia, and fantasy life. Coming up next on the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Football Podcast, brought to you by the good folks from Circa Sports, from Fantrax, and from ACME Real Fantasy Football. I'm Jeff Erickson here, and my guest today is the great Jorge Martin. You can follow him on Twitter at Jorge Martin 17. You can check out his work now at Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life, and this is a new development. Jorge, welcome and congratulations. A full-time gig in this industry is always amazing.
When you told me that, it really means, I mean, especially, well, first off, thank you for having me. This I always love chopping it up with you. And yeah, I mean, when you told me this last week, I mean, it's really sinking in. You've told me that. John Hansen told me that the same thing, the guru. And yeah, it's been just a wonderful 4+ year journey to get to this point. And yeah, and just I ain't done yet. I just finished day 3, so yeah, I mean, and can't wait for day 4 to keep coming along.
Yeah, it's awesome. That's awesome to hear. I love it. Let's jump right into it. There is a lot to talk about going on. Training camps are opening up all over the place. Holdouts are happening. Unfortunately, it is holdout season. CeeDee Lamb is one of those that is holding out right now. What, on a scale of 1 to 10, what's your level of concern?
2.
Okay.
The you know what? We've seen it. The Cowboys, Jerry Jones loves to play hardball with his guys, but then he knows. I think he learned his lesson. Remember when Emmitt Smith held out after they won the Super Bowl?
Oh,
and then they started 0-2. And then all of a sudden, like the world, and then they re-signed him, went back to the Super Bowl that year. So yeah. I think he learned his lesson. He loves to. I think he likes to actually likes the drama a little bit, and he kind of like there's some PT Barnum, no such thing as bad publicity.
Yeah.
But
also it's not Evie Farnham and not PT Barnum, then we're okay.
That's a good one. That's a good one. But yeah, you know what? I think what I don't think he minds, signing guys to top dollar and getting, and getting the publicity out of that. So I think he's going to end up doing that with Dak eventually, and he's going to do it with Micah Parsons because if they want to prove that they're all in, that's the only thing, because other than draft picks, they didn't bring anything in. Yeah. Oh, Zeke. That's right. They brought in Zeke.
Well, and they lost Pollard, so trade-offs, I guess.
Yeah.
I guess I'm being very generous with that, but actually, Zeke wasn't bad last year. I'm going to sort of defend Zeke. I mean, I think, if you look at some of the metrics, yes, he is declining a little bit, but he also is asked to do the tough work, always has been, and that's something that Pollard wasn't necessarily equipped to handle. You can kind of see that there. And how dare you diminish the work that Royce Freeman did last year when they brought him in? I mean, they brought in somebody there. No, just kidding. Royce Freeman. But anyways, I agree. It's just the Cowboys always seem like they just they wait too long to get it done. Like they get it done eventually, but they pay more because of that.
I hear you. And I think, and that's why I don't think that Jerry Jones minds paying the little extra, because then he gets to say he's paying top dollar for his guys. And so maybe he doesn't pay Justin Jefferson price tag for CeeDee Lamb, but maybe $500,000 less a year, and he's paying the second best receiver, second highest paid receiver in the NFL. I don't think he minds that. I mean, there's how many more boats does he need?
Yeah, exactly. And I would say the likelihood of a trade, by the way, I've seen some trade suggestions in the chat. It's like 1%. At most. I mean, it's a non-zero, but it's almost zero. I don't think he gets dealt. I don't think Brandon Aiyuk gets dealt. I don't think T. Higgins gets dealt. I don't think any of these guys get traded.
What would they? I mean, because what are they going to get? They're not going to get equal value for this year. And what are all those 3 teams that we're talking about? They're all contenders. They're all Super Bowl contenders. I am putting your Bengals in there. So
yes, that's right. Today.
Yeah.
Let's go.
So I think they really are legitimate Super Bowl contenders, and they're not gonna diminish their chances for this year. No, I mean the teams know that they have the leverage when it comes to those guys. So it'll be drama, but the guys will come in. I mean, I think Aiyuk was the one who did it right. He's probably going and he's doing the Jordan Love thing and not, he's reporting, but not working out or not working out on the field until something gets done. So
he has formally requested a trade. So let's talk Aiyuk. Let's talk Niners. Let's talk about Trent Williams while we're at it too, who actually is holding out, even though he's signed for what, like 2-3 more years. It's just not so much guaranteed money.
Trent Williams, I mean, he may be the best left tackle in the NFL. And if it's not him, it doesn't take long to take roll call before they get to him. But you know what? It's like Matthew Stafford, kind of wants to get the contract restructured, get a little extra money up front. He knows that they want that he's how important he is to that team. Plus I think he's a veteran. He doesn't need the training camp. Remember every year Walter Jones for the Seattle Seahawks, he would just report to training camp like a week before the season started, and he'd go be an all-pro because he knew what he needed to do. And so he just doesn't. Trent Williams doesn't need training camp. Getting 2-3 guys trying to take cheap shots at him in workouts with other teams, or even having to go against Nick Bosa. He doesn't want that. No. Let's do his own workouts and then he'll be ready.
Is there a type of player or a player specifically that you would be concerned about that's not at camp right now, or maybe another time, or potentially not at camp even?
Potentially not at camp. Gosh, I mean, there was a part of me that was worried about Jordan Love. Yeah. But then all of a sudden, when he reported and isn't working out, that to me tells me that they're gonna get
hold in, right?
Yeah, I think players learned their lesson from Le'Veon Bell, and I mean, look, how much did he cost himself? And I just don't. I think players will take this as far as they can, and then all of a sudden, and then someone will make a smart decision. The 49ers know that they need him because the guy that they drafted, Ricky Pearsall, is hurt right now. So they know they need Aiyuk, and Ricky Pearsall is missing some incredibly valuable time in training camp. The rookies need this if they're gonna pop anything close to what Puka Nacua did last year. So they can't miss anything.
Mention that because I brought this up on the show. It is rookies that I worry about more than anything, and thank goodness we don't have rookie holdouts anymore. I mean, it may not be the greatest thing for the rookies, but in terms of like their lack of leverage, but at the same time, I think from our very selfish point of view of like, at least I don't have to worry about that as a factor. I think that's a huge issue. So yeah, rookies missing time because of injury, like Pearsall. Like I'm less concerned about running backs than I am wide receivers. I think wide receivers is super important. I keep going back to John Ross on the Bengals, and he's coming off the ACL at UW, and he started off behind and he never caught up.
Oh yeah, that one's tough. The one I am worried about, you mentioned running backs, Jonathan Brooks. I'm a little bit worried about for the front half of the season, because he had the ACL so late. His timing from when he had this ACL was very similar to Todd Gurley, who missed, I believe, the first 2 games, played part of a third, and then in the fourth he came on. But yeah, I think you're right. Receivers definitely need more reps than running backs. I think running backs, it's much easier to kind of come through and start to pop right off the back. We've seen it so many times. But I mean, how many NFL rookies of the year are running backs? Probably even more than the quarterbacks. But yeah, we need that. I mean, I want Jonathan Brooks for the back half of the season. So if I'm drafting him, I want to make sure that that I have someone, maybe Chuba Hubbard for the front half of the season. I want to make sure that I'd like to be drafting him as my RB3, not my RB2, or getting a really good RB3 that I can play for a while. Austin Eckler is actually pretty interesting. I think he's going really late in drafts, and could be a good complement to someone like Jonathan Brooks.
Yeah, I think it's interesting how you pair it. Do you go to the same team? I mean, I'm not super eager to have a lion's share of the Carolina running game.
Yeah.
But at the same time, Hubbard was fine last year. So I actually have been finding myself just taking Hubbard later. And I don't, even if I have Brooks, just taking him away from me.
And he's going way later than Brooks.
Yeah.
So I mean, you don't want him to be necessarily be your safety, your immediate safety net. Like I said, Austin Eckler, even Brian Robinson, either one of those are a good option, because I think the Washington Commanders are going to be in a lot of shootouts, and there's going to be a lot of there's going to be a lot of points. I think they're going to need to score a lot of points to keep up, because I don't think that defense is going to be very good. But yeah, I mean, Tyjae Spears is a guy that's going in the hundreds right now in best ball drafts. I think those guys are fairly interesting. That could be pretty good early in the season, especially getting a little bit of passing game work.
I think that Brooks price is going to go down. Right. I think keep in mind the people that draft early are psychos like us. They play a lot of best ball. They play a lot of dynasty. They just can't wait to draft. I mean, they work in fantasy. So yeah, let's go. And then he starts not practicing a little bit. They
draft a couple times. They draft a couple times in Vegas, a couple leagues in Vegas.
Yes, something like that. Oh, the player's on the pup list. Oh, we have all this optimism now. Oh, he's going to miss 6 weeks. Oh, I've got enough exposure to Brooks. All of a sudden, that price goes down. Goes down with all the rookies to a certain extent. I think especially the ones that have been drafted, been aggressively pushed a little bit. Like I've seen leagues where, in Arizona, Benson goes before Connor. Like, no way. Connor's got to go sooner.
Absolutely. And he's a great option, if you do get Jonathan Brooks, because Connor is always good. And you know what? He usually only misses games, but it's not like he misses 5 or 6 games. He misses 1, 2, 3 games here and there. No, and he gets used a lot. He gets used as a bell cow. I know Trey Benson is there, but I really think he's going to be a true backup to begin the season. And maybe he's going to be good at the end, toward the end of the season, if for some reason Connor misses time. But and the other thing about Connor, he's on a final year of his contract. So if he wants to get another contract after this, he needs to perform. So so he's going to stay on the field, and even if he's going for a 1-year contract next year.
Yeah, I think you're probably right about that. I have both Connor and Connor and Brooks in Scott Fishbowl. I backed it's Connor and Benson, excuse me. Got Connor at 710, got Benson at 1110, backed them up. So I've got them both. But see, I think Connor is one of those classic good when healthy guys. You just hope he doesn't get hurt early in game. You don't get that like 2 carries and he's done for the day sort of thing.
Raheem Mostert is another guy. I think he's getting pushed into the hundreds on drafts, the 90s to 100. And it's like, did people forget that this guy's healthy and he scored 21 touchdowns last year? I mean, I feel like they're expecting that he's going to get hurt in week 2 and miss the rest of the season. And you can't predict injuries. I mean, Dr. Edwin Porras, who have co-hosted the Injury Prone podcast with them all year, he's said you just can't you can't predict injuries. And here's the thing, they all get injured in some way, shape, or form. So it's just some play through it. Some it's an injury that takes them out for the entire, for games or an entire season.
Yeah. Agreed. Absolutely agree. There's no one 100% late in the season there. Let's talk about a couple other, training camp notes. Javonte Williams, people are writing him off like, oh, he may not even make the team. He's getting first team reps, and there's been positive reports. Granted, it's week 1. They're not in pads yet or anything like that. I'm giving a little bit of grace to Javonte Williams, though. This is a guy that's coming back from a massive late injury, 2 ligaments in his knee, and was asked to do all the unfun work. He all the between the tackles carries, all the early carries. Of course he was inefficient last year. I think the hype on Jaleel McLaughlin is overwrought. And I also think that any sort of talk about Williams, getting cut is crazy. I could be wrong, but I'm so in on Williams at the price.
It's funny. Troy Rank, who was the one who mentioned that, I interviewed him on the Familia FFB podcast right around the 4th of July, maybe right after the 4th of July, and he actually pointed that out first. So if you guys it's archived on my YouTube page, on the Familia FFB YouTube page, but he mentioned that he could be the starter and get 250 touches, or he could not make the team, and I'm still putting my money on the fact that he's going to be the starter and get 250 touches. He's the only guy who's real. He and Audric Estime are the only guys who are built out to carry a load. And one of the things, and actually, and Dr. Porras and I, just on Sunday, we released the video where we talk about year two players coming back from injuries in year two. And I saw that. We spoke at length about Javonte Williams. And one of the things that Troy Rank did point out, that I pointed out to Edwin, is that he looked a lot thicker in the legs. And that was one thing that Troy Rank talked about, that he wasn't as physical a runner. And his missed tackles forced were almost half of what he had the previous year, the previous healthy year, which is his rookie year in 2021. His missed tackle forced were lower, were nearly half. He had over 100 fewer yards after contact, and both of them were with more carries. So, but the thing is, it was a multi-ligament injury, which a lot of times they take a full year to come back from, and he came back in less than a year. So maybe he wasn't ready to come back from that injury. Yeah. So I'm banking. I've been taking him because he's going way late. I'm trying to think who I think he might have been going like with Jalen Wright in that range. And I'm sitting there, I'm like the number 3 running back for the Miami Dolphins, or potentially a guy who could get 250 touches. I'll take that. Absolutely. That. Yeah. I mean, if he's, and a lot of times, with having a normal off season, which he's had no setbacks or anything like that. I'm gonna take my chances on him as like an RB3 in case we get a running back, because Sean Payton likes to use his running backs. Yes, he does. So I'm gonna and their offensive line was pretty good opening up rushing lanes last year. They weren't as good against the pass, but they were definitely good against definitely good in the running game. So I am taking my chances on Javonte Williams, and that's it, getting that year 2 boost.
Kansas City, not Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but Deneric Prince has been getting the second team running back carries, coming in with behind Isaiah Pacheco. Pacheco's going to get the lion's share of the work. I don't think it super matters who the backup is, and of course, until Pacheco gets hurt. But I like seeing the information. This is the sort of thing I'm paying attention to in training camp. I see a little bit. It can be a little bit of noise, but I mean, CEH has had his chance plenty of times to impress us, to impress the Chiefs. Are you buying in on Prince? Is he going to be the Fresh Prince of Kansas City?
You know what? There's been talk about him since his rookie year. As he's a bigger back, so he could be a little bit better in pass protection, which usually gets guys on the field a little bit more. So I do now. I've got the Fresh Prince theme song in my head right now. Yes. So that and Will Smith coming up to bat for the Dodgers. So but yeah, you know what, Deneric Prince, he's a little bit bigger than Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Could be good. And this is similar to what we heard about Isaiah Pacheco 2 years ago, that there was early camp rumblings about him. So the fact that we're talking about Deneric Prince, does that mean you're not buying the Kadarius Toney could be a running back?
I'm not buying any form of Kadarius Toney. That one's been vetted for me. I could be wrong, but yeah. It does raise to me the general question, though. How much training camp hype? How important is training camp hype? What sort of things are you listening to this week, next week? even throughout, like we go beyond training camp to the preseason. What are you looking for? What are you listening to?
I'm listening for injury reports.
Okay.
So who's missing time, who's having hamstring issues, who's missing practice reps, especially when it's really important for them. Young players. I mean, if someone tells me that Amon-Ra St. Brown misses a practice, I'm not worried. You know, I know he's going to be there. He's going to be there week 1. But if it's someone tells me that Malik Neighbors, Marvin Harrison Jr., Rome Odunze, if one of them misses like a week of practice, then my antenna goes up. So I'm looking at that. I'll pay attention when they have like the organized the organized practices against other teams to see, and there's inevitably going to be a fight in one of those games, but really just how they're looking, because we're not seeing the main players in exhibition games. We're just not going to see them. Maybe we'll see a couple of series out of Patrick Mahomes, because he usually likes to get a series in during a couple of series in during. But we probably won't see the Lions. We won't see Laporta. We won't see Amon-Ra St. Brown. We won't see those beautiful running backs. But I don't know. I sometimes think training camp hype is so overblown because of the fact that we're missing football. We've been missing football, and but yeah, things get overblown. And you know what? I think it happens in baseball too. Aaron Judge, remember when in spring training when it sounded like he was, he's got the knee, he's got the toe, he's going to need constant
He'll be dealing with it all year.
Yeah, maybe his whole career, and now he's having a career year where he's ahead in all. So I unless it's an injury to him, an injury that's making prominent players really miss extended periods of time, I'm not worried. I feel like I should have been more worried about Joe Burrow last year, but I love that. But that is one thing that I'm really listening to.
Right, injuries.
Where is he? But where is he coming from? Because if he has his first first normal training camp, I'm buying Jamar Chase all day. I've got a number 4 pick in a draft, and knowing that the first 3 are going to be some combination of CMC, CeeDee Lamb, and Tyreek Hill, I think Jamar Chase is very much on the board to be a guy to take at that point.
It's funny because I feel like the 1.1 is largely settled on CMC, and then 2 through 8, I think you can kind of shake up like dice in a cup and spit them out different angles. Lamb is often one of the top 3, but I've seen Chase go 2. I've seen Breece Hall and Bijan go 2 sometimes.
Yes.
I've seen Tyreek. I mean, I think you can maybe 2 through 7. I think Amon-Ra doesn't usually get up to 2 or 3, but he sometimes peaks ahead of a couple of those guys.
Amon-Ra, I love him this year.
I do because too. He's a solid at worst 8. I love 8 because of that.
Oh, if he fell to 8, I won't be able to hit. If I had 8 and he fell to me, I would hurt my hand hitting draft
carpal tunnel from clicking so much there. That's right.
Because he's got 14 out of the 17 games indoors, and he's going to get 150 plus targets in that offense. And
absolutely.
And so I'll take that all. And he's getting red zone work. To me right now, as much as I love Justin Jefferson, I think the downgrade in the quarterback is kind of a little bit of concern, even though he has a great closing schedule. 5 of his last 6 games are indoors. The only outdoor game is in Seattle. So it's not going to be a snow game for him. But yeah, I think very much. I got my dog just joined me.
Good. Little character.
Yeah,
love it.
But no, I love Amon-Ra this year. But yeah, right now I think at number 4 I'd be between Chase, Amon-Ra, and maybe one of those 2 running backs.
All right, very good. We're going to talk about a little Scott Fishbowl next, but first, quick note from our good friends at Circa. The biggest pro football contests in Vegas are back. Circa Survivor and Circa Million are now up to $16 million in guaranteed prizes. 2 ways to win and no rake. Circa Survivor contestants select one team each week with no point spread. Last the longest to win it all with $10 million guaranteed. In Circa Million, make 5 picks against the spread each week for your share of the $6 million guaranteed quarterly and full season payouts. Enter Nevada, play from anywhere. Visit circasports.com for details. Jorge and I were at Circa this past week for the annual RotoWire conference, and we can attest Circa rules. If you're a sports fan, a football fan, and a fantasy player, they love you. They'll take good care of you. It's also, I can't wait to see games there too. I think that's the best part. I've done Survivor the last 2 years, the Circa Survivor contest. I might do both contests this year. Keep you posted on that. But Jorge and I both know that no one loves Circa.
There's no better place to watch a game. I mean, we watched the All-Star game there last week, and it was just, it was phenomenal. It was
Circa
phenomenal.
Swim is phenomenal because guess what? It's also a sports book. It's also a sports bar. It is amazing. The big screen there is incredible. All right. Scott Fishbowl is also incredible, and we both did the live Scott Fishbowl event. There were 5 drafts going on at once. Just a manic time. It was so much fun. It was so much fun. Last couple of years, it's held down at Trophy Smack. The folks there are awesome. Jorge, I don't understand how they get any work done there because that place is just like so much going on.
Did you go upstairs?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. The bowling alley, the video games, you name it. The glass ping pong table for me. My depth perception on that was a little bit off. It's amazing too.
I agree. I don't know how they get anything done. And you know, and Matt Walsh, you know, lighting fireworks indoors and
got a little bit of enthusiasm, just a little bit of energy there.
I got a great picture with him with the crazy glasses and everything. No, I mean, it was, I mean, coming from Vegas, it was actually just an assault to the senses to be in there. And, you know, everybody we're seeing all old friends that maybe that's the only time we see them the whole year. And just such a great time. And now I tell you, I love the whole experience, but us drafting from the kitchen, you know, the Riggs and Murtaugh division, that was a blast. We had our own refrigerator filled with beer. It was
stuck
really
in there
nice.
every once in a while to grab one, but it was useful that way there. Because I was in the Snake Plissken League. I am in, I should say.
One of the best names.
Yes, you know, Escape from LA. We went to the city of Orange to do it there. So there you go. In Scott Fishbowl, you had the 2 pick. You did a double stack. I think stacking is always fun to do in these overall contests. We should talk about that really a little bit there. Because, you know, I think the concept of stacking, I think, is pretty important when you're doing these overall contests because you want to have everything go in concert.
I've been a fan since the very first time I played in a fantasy league. Actually, you'll appreciate this, was 1990, and my quarterback was Boomer Esiason, and my wide receiver was Eddie Brown.
Yes.
So they were actually, I believe they might have been my first 3 picks, or if I know my first 2 picks were Christian Okoye and Eddie Brown. Christian Okoye, that pick did not work out, but Eddie Brown had a very good season, over 1,000 yards, and I believe 8 touchdowns, and Boomer Science. So at that point, I realized that stacking was important.
My favorite stack year was Scott Mitchell, Barry Sanders, and Herman Moore. I had all 3 in the big breakout year.
Who was talking about that? Someone was talking about that yesterday. I heard, yeah, it was like, and Herman Moore had like over 200 targets in that season. And, you know, and even Barry Sanders had like 75 targets on that.
Insane and affordable. As long as you could get Sanders, you could put the other 2 together very easily.
Oh man, no, I know who was talking about that. Dwayne McFarland was talking about that recently. Nice. You know, talking about kind of like obscure quarterbacks that came out of nowhere to have huge seasons, and that's where he pulled out. Herman Moore had, I think it was like 206 targets. I mean, that's like Julio Jones type of level. But went Josh Allen at the number 2. Which actually made the number 1 was Christian McCaffrey, which made my decision easier because I wanted a quarterback. I was not going to go running back. I'm not falling for the bait that people were like, oh, Christian McCaffrey was the best scorer in this system last year. Yes, and I hope he does well, has a good season. I still want a quarterback in Superflex in the first round.
You're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe. I like it.
We're not falling for the banana in the tailpipe again. Did I say it the right way?
Yes, you did. Well done.
But yeah, no, that and getting Josh Allen, because if I wouldn't have had Josh Allen, I would have had to pick between Patrick Mahomes, Lamar Jackson, and Jalen Hurts, and I would have flipped 3 coins at that point to get that one. But Josh Allen then got Dalton Kincaid later on, who may be their target leader this year.
That was a little bit of a value too. I mean, I'll compare that to my Scott Fishbowl League. Kincaid went at 2.4. Would not have been there. I was 1 away from getting Kelsey though. He went at 2.9, just so close, but yet not really.
I came really close to getting Kelsey at 211. But I really wanted Jonathan. Jonathan Taylor has been one of my favorite second round picks this year in best ball, because I think he's going to be back to a 1,500 yard running back this year. But I wanted the solid running back if I wasn't going to get Christian McCaffrey in the first round, and then I was just going to load up on receivers. But getting Kincaid at the 311 was just extreme value at this point. I love how Scott makes things crazy, because I just don't know which way to, really don't know which way the runs are going to happen. Right. Especially when you're drafting at the ends, like, I like to draft first or second. Our mutual friend Mauricio Gutierrez had the wild hair. He wanted the 3rd round reversal. He went the number 12 pick. So,
okay.
But no, that one was getting that. And then later on, I loved it that I was able to do the double stack with Matthews when it came back around to me. I was able to wrap around Matthew Stafford and Cooper Kupp and piss off about 4 Ram fans who I took both of them away from them. So that was very, very sweet. I very much enjoyed a big swig of beer after that.
There you go. So who is your allegiance to? You're not a Rams fan. Who's your team?
No, I am a Rams fan.
Okay, I thought so, because the way you said it is because you ticked off all the other Rams fans. I thought for a second that you weren't. You just did it for the sport of ticking them off, which I would totally respect, by the way. There's value in that too. But Kupp's one of those guys that I think he's weirdly a hot button sort of guy that some people are like, oh, I'm staying far away from him. He's too injury prone. This is the year he collapses. Other people are like, yeah, give me that in the 3rd round every day, and in like standard redraft leagues.
All day. And I got it from two good sources. Number one, Edwin is, he's very high on him this year because, he's all the camp reports are that he's healthy. And he also pointed out the fact that Keenan Allen was in a very similar situation last year, and he got 150 targets in 13 games. So, and they play very similar positions. Also, I had Jordan Rodriguez from The Athletic on the podcast, and which is one of the most watched of that series. She pointed out that he looks completely healthy, and that it looks like all the injuries are, the injury was from last year behind. And apparently there was some personal stuff, just some personal stuff that may have been weighing on him a little bit, that he mentioned was that he mentioned in a podcast. So maybe if that stuff is behind him and he's got a little clear mind, healthy outlook, it's hard to expect anything less than 50% of the targets going to some combination of Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp. And, maybe it's 27-23 or something like that. I still think Puka is going to be the number 1 target, but he gets 155 targets and Cooper Kupp gets 143. I would take my chances.
And that interview, by the way, with Jordan Rodriguez is pinned to your Twitter page. It's the top item there. Jorge Martin 17. So check that out, folks. Good stuff there. And you can check all of his Familia podcasts there. You got a good archive on YouTube there. I know you're backing away a little bit right now because of your new gig. We're going to talk about that soon. Check out that podcast. Some good stuff there. We're going to take a quick sojourn to talk about our other sponsors real quick, and we're going to follow up with more about Jorge's progression in the industry, maybe a few other players as well. Stay tuned. First, from ACME Real Fantasy Football. What's with fantasy football scores looking like an NBA All-Star game? Let's get real with ACME Real Fantasy Football. The top pro teams average around 28 points a game. This is how ACME Real Fantasy Football scoring system is based. The system is also very accurate compared to the actual game score. Each team drafts only 9 players filling the primary positions. Benches are only used for injured and bye-week players. This leaves 200 free agents available to improve your team. Weekly waivers give preference to the bottom of the standings. League rankings are always changing, keeping it competitive the entire season. ACME Real Fantasy Football also has a one-of-a-kind playoff format, selecting a new lineup each week. All teams are competing from week 1 through the Super Bowl. 12-team leagues start at only $120. Go to acmerealfantasyfootball.com and sign up today. Also, is there something you wish to do, you wish your fantasy league had, or features that are missing from your current leagues? Bonus scoring, custom schedules or playoffs, deeper team settings? Well, look no further, because we have you covered with our friends at Fantrax. Fantrax is the most customizable fantasy platform in the industry, offering the greatest fantasy experience for your dynasty, keeper, redraft, and best ball leagues. Fantrax even offers college fantasy football leagues. So like RotoWire's Chris Benzine can play, Eric Froton can play, you name it there. There's all sorts of good college. I used to play a ton of college fantasy football before I had bandwidth issues. Create or join a fantasy football commissioner league. Invite your friends and dominate your draft this season. Fantrax is the top fantasy dynasty football platform in the industry. Coming from another service? Not a problem. Fantrax can easily import any of your current leagues and rosters. Either ever have a trade go wrong or make a mistake in dropping a player? Fantrax commissioner tools allow you to undo any move with one simple click. Fantrax is running a special promotion you don't want to miss. Sign up for free at fantrax.com/RotoWire today to enter for your chance to win tickets to any regular season NFL game for you and your entire league, plus $6,000 in spending cash. That's right, tickets for your entire league. Simply create a new league or bring over your existing leagues for more chances to win. Simply go to fantrax.com/RotoWire and sign up today. Fantrax, the home of fantasy sports. Jorge, if you could go to any NFL regular season game, we'll say continental United States, no sneaky trips overseas, which game would you choose?
You know what? I like the NFC Championship rematch in Week 17 on Monday Night Football. 49ers and Detroit Lions.
Okay.
I would love to be at that game just because that's Week 17, and that's Monday Night Football Week 17. Fantasy championships, best ball mania, all those things are going to be decided probably in that game. I would love to go and just see my phone just go nuts. See if I've got a shot. I think that would just be one of the most electric games. Kansas City, Baltimore, and as the opener is also how can you not want to be at that one in cash? To see them in good weather, not that the 10 degrees that they were in last January.
Exactly. I have never been to Paycor Stadium and see my Bengals, so I would choose like a Bengals home game. Let's just say against divisional rival. We'll go that route there. Although last year wasn't so good in that respect, but that was last year. I want to see a healthy Burrow and Paycor there. That's my choice. Let's get to know you, Jorge. For people who don't know you really well, you have done the Familia podcast. You did work for us. You wrote for Yahoo. Now you're at Matthew Berry's Fantasy Life. Congratulations on that. What are you doing for them?
Well, I'm a staff editor, so I'm going to be editing and publishing content to the website. I'm also going to be working on the e-newsletter that goes out to hundreds of thousands of people every day. And that's going to be that I love. I mean, I was a subscriber well before that. I'll be working on that. I'll be writing some breaking news as things happen. Hopefully not too many guys are getting injured, and where I have to hit up Edwin for a quote on injury outlooks for guys. But we know it's the NFL and that's what's going to happen. But doing a lot of that. And you know what? Honestly, it's been a great run. Just kind of getting to this point, and getting to work with you and Peter and Tim and all the other people, John McKechnie, Eric Halterman, all those people, and working with the writers, great writers like Todd Zola and others, and just it's been a fun ride in this industry, kind of this little reinvention of myself after, having worked in sports media for a long time, did the 8 years with the Dodgers and had a lot of fun there. But it's kind of cool to get this new chapter unfolded. And gosh, I mean, it's so funny. I was telling someone the other day, it's like, I remember listening to Matthew Berry doing guest spots on the Mason and Ireland show on, just getting 15 minutes to talk about fantasy baseball or football, whatever was in season. And now it's like it's almost like he's created a whole, helped create a whole new industry.
Yep, and he also he subbed in for Jason Smith when
That's right.
And I actually co-hosted with Matthew a couple of times. He'd have me sit in a little bit there. It was fun. It was wild. And terrestrial radio it's a different animal than satellite. So I was kind of oh, I only have 5 minutes for this segment. What am I going to do? It was pretty funny. It's awesome to see that. What prompted you to get into fantasy? I know you said you worked for the Dodgers forever. You worked in sports, sports media. What pushed you in that direction towards working in fantasy?
You want to know something? It actually started at a Christmas argument over fantasy football.
Okay.
The name Familia FFB the inspiration came from we've got a very ultra competitive fantasy football league.
Okay.
That is 12 I think, gosh, we're like year 15, 16, something like that. We've been in this league. Our draft takes like 6 hours, which when a lot of times would only take one if we did it online. But the argument that it was Christmas. So what is happening in Christmas at that time? Fantasy football playoffs are happening. Right. And there were plates of tamales, there were beers, and there were arguments that were very well thought out, very well argued. There was Spanglish involved. There was insults. There were a lot. And I just thought, I sat there and I thought, this could be interesting if we ever recorded this. And at one point there was someone did, after our draft, they did record like a 4-minute rant. Sat there and
was that the Christmas game, 6 touchdown game?
It was before that. I think it was it was before that season. It was he was justifying my cousin, my primo Hector, was justifying taking him at that point, and he got rewarded because of that season. But no, what ended up happening was COVID happened, and I had talked to a couple of my cousins, my primos, Hector and Ricky, and we were all in the league, and we thought, let's do this. I thought we'd be the Mexican fantasy footballers. And and so I remembered hearing Andy, Mike, and Jason talking about recording in one of their kids' bedrooms, and actually the very first couple episodes were recorded at my mom's house in my brother's old bedroom, and we did it, and then we recorded via Skype, and literally I would put show sheets together and just getting as much information as possible. And we had a blast. We'd get 12, 15 people listening. Because it was all audio at that time. And then a year later we added video, but life kind of started to come back to normal in 2021. And my cousins started to become less available. And I just kept it going with guests, friends I'd met in the industry. That's where the inspiration for the very first NFL Insider Series came up. In 2021, I talked to a lot, I talked to writers, podcasters, broadcasters from all 32 teams. And in doing that, I started to meet more people in the industry, started to make more friends, build a network. Next thing I know, is, gosh, I started doing some work with Fantasy Points. I appeared on a panel where at FSGA, where I met you, where I met Peter, DJ, and Tim. And next thing I know, I'm doing work with RotoWire. And it really was just saying yes to whatever opportunities came about. And that's
good lesson right there.
It really is. No job is too small, and because it keeps you in the door, and for any opportunity that comes up. And honestly, I do have RotoWire to thank, because all the editing work that I did with RotoWire over the last year and a half kept me really sharp, and to the point where apparently I did pretty well on the editing test that they gave me, because they offered me the job.
Yeah, nice.
Yeah. So it ended up being really good. But yeah, and I mean, it really was just taking every opportunity and kind of like having it build towards something bigger down the road. And hopefully this is, and hopefully it's a nice long run. But the great thing is, I've kept great friendships with you and so many people in this industry that are just going to keep getting better.
100%. 100%. And that's one of the things I love about the fantasy industry is we all want to beat each other, but we also, we get along. It's not Coke versus Pepsi. We actually get along really well, and it's a beautiful thing.
And everybody knows that there's so many millions and millions of people not only playing in the U.S., but because of the Scott Fish Bowl, we know it's worldwide. Yep. I mean, we saw the videos of drafts in Barcelona and Mexico City and all over. London. I mean, just incredible where the people are. There are kicker-only leagues in Spain. So and I think there was even was there a draft in Brazil this year?
There was.
Yes. I mean, fantasy sports, fantasy football is worldwide, and that was the other part. I wanted to kind of like I wanted to be a Latino voice in the industry, because I wasn't seeing too many of those, and so I just thought, hey, you know what? There are 30 million people who follow the NFL, 30 million Latinos who follow the NFL. Maybe a few come and follow my podcast, or and a few people who followed my Twitter account. So kind of give a voice, and kind of open a door for more people to keep doing this.
Yeah, and I see it happening more and more. I see it happening more in football than baseball, unfortunately. But I also think that's also because football draws a broader audience, generally speaking, as fans. But fantasy baseball hasn't quite captured that as much. I mean, you do both, and that's one of the things I like about you, is that you are a multi-sport analyst, and I love that. But it's one of those things where I think we got a good sense of upward trajectory. All you had to do is be at the live event this past weekend. You could see that there in person too, and that was great. And hopefully we get more of that.
Doesn't doing baseball and football, don't you feel it makes you better at both? It's
sometimes. When I miss a fab deadline in August, not so much, but I'm hurrying through that. But yes, it does. I love the sports. I love both sports. Yeah. I love basketball and hockey and golf and soccer too. And I can't quite do it all, but I try. But it does. It makes. I like my fandom to have some payoff there too. I like that I can employ that knowledge and employ my enthusiasm there. Haven't found a way that my soccer fandom's really translated fantasy wise. That's the one thing, but that's okay. I'll find a way there. I've been in a golf league for 25 years, but
that's awesome.
Yeah, we do. It's an auction league, so Peak Tiger. We broke Tiger instead of like it's an auction league, 9 golfers, $100 budget. It was usually a race to say 92 on Tiger. So we had to have a drawing. And then we broke Tiger into months. We had March Tiger, April Tiger, and the combined, various Tigers added up to about 170. So obviously it was the right call to do it that way. It's the real true value of that there. I haven't seen that much of a player that much hang over an entire sport like that since. It's been close, maybe like peak Lemieux, peak, I don't know. Golf is just different there too.
What would Gretzky have gone?
Yeah, I'm sure Gretzky would have been similar in that respect, where it's just so unfair to have that. When both Gretzky and Lemieux were going, at least they kind of canceled each other out. But it was just such a massive advantage to get those two. That's why third round reversal started, because for a couple of years, Emmett was such a dominant guy. Then Sean Alexander, LaDainian Tomlinson. I think that was about that time when third round reversal got started in most of the leagues I saw, or at least in the NFFC. Yep.
LT was I think LT was the straw that broke the camel's back to make sure that that third round reversal happened, because gosh, you knew you were going to lose. If LT in 2006, gosh, I remember comparing LT 2006 to Ronald Acuna 2023. So I don't know which year was better, but they're both pretty spectacular.
So the way I roll is I finally get the 1.1 in my main event baseball league this year, get Acuna, and of course he's out. The first year in my home football league, Amiki, awesome league, The first year I got the 1.1, I took Terrell Davis. That was the year he got hurt. I mean, because he was a cheat code for a couple of years. So just don't give me the 1.1, I guess, is the real lesson here. But
hey, I spent $65 out of my $260 budget in my National League only league. My favorite fantasy league, baseball, football.
Keeper league, I take it.
Yeah, we do old school rotisserie rules. So the 3 year.
Okay.
But yeah, I ended up cutting them because
of course.
I'm not gonna spend it up next year. Yeah, it was just but I'm in fourth place right now, or actually fifth place right now. Ugh.
Yeah, my main event team is in fifth place, and it's 5 out of 15 in that league. So getting a little far afield there. Sorry about that, folks. That's what I tend to do. That's what we do. We're talking sports. We're talking ball here. That's all we can do. Jorge, where can people find your work now? Where can they go find the Familia FB podcast as well? I know it's all archived out there.
Yeah, the Familia FFB podcast, just Familia FFB on YouTube, wherever you get your audio, Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your audio. Actually, I have a couple more that I have to upload. Also, check out the Injury Prone podcast because Dr. Porras is going to be giving. He's giving weekly. We're getting weekly episodes out there and making sure that we're going to be following along to all the training camp news. But also we got the injury guide and playbook that he and I worked on together. That's going to be coming out pretty soon. People can pre-order it. They could just check the show notes on our YouTube page. A lot of people have been watching those episodes lately. There's a lot of. We try and keep them about 20 to 25 minutes so that they're pretty digestible and a lot of good information. And then Edwin always gets asked about his favorite tequila list at the end. So we ended up with the call sign. Yeah, come for the injuries, stay for the tacos and tequila.
Beautiful. Love it. Good stuff there. Jorge, always fun talking with you. Can't wait to see you in a couple of weeks at a Dodger game to be named later. Looking forward to that. Folks, thanks for tuning in. Catch Jorge Martin 17. He can lead you on the right direction for everything he has to offer. If you liked this podcast, please rate, review all that, the podcast, subscribe, all that, get those notifications for the RotoWire podcast, subscribe to RotoWire, check it out, rotowire.com/pod, get you a free peek behind the paywall. No credit card is required. Thanks for listening to RotoWire. Have a good night.